This is the Sultan River. We're taking out at the Trout Farm Road River access in Sultan, Washington, putting in up by Kayaking Dam, looks like Forest Road 6122. There's a little hike down to the river. The run starts with a few easier rapids. We ran into some wood pretty early too. There was quite a bit of wood out there. It kept us on our toes, but none of it was really a big problem. The difficulty started picking up a little bit pretty quickly. This rapid right here was a nice one, and then the one after it was kind of defined the nature of the early part of the trip. These steep rapids like this, but pretty short, and you could kind of eddy out right above them and get a good look at where you wanted to go. For the most part, you didn't have to get out of your boat to look at stuff. We didn't get out of our boats at all. It was my first time down the river, but Dave had run it a couple times before, and so there were a couple places where I was kind of glad to follow his line, but for the most part, you could just see what you wanted to do from above the rapid. There were some longer rapids as well, but you could see from up above that it was unfolding at a slow enough pace that I felt pretty confident that I could figure it out as I went along, or that if I needed to, I could find an eddy. Kind of boulder garden style rapids, maybe some steep moves in there too, but yeah, they were a whole lot of fun. I'm cutting out quite a bit of stuff here. There were a lot of other longish rapids in this general area that just didn't look quite as good on video, and the whole run was about 13 miles of pretty busy water, so I just wanted to pick and choose the best looking shots and not make the video super long. There's a diversion dam. I was a little nervous when I heard about it. It's like, oh, a dam, is this going to be hard? But it's actually pretty straightforward. The flow just kind of takes you through the slot here, and it's constricted. There's some waves in there. It's pushy, but it's easier than a lot of the other rapids on this run. After the dam, it feels like you're getting a lot more of the longer boulder garden style rapids. And they do seem, a little bit longer, bigger boulders, a little bit steeper than the longer rapids towards the beginning of the run. I thought this section in here was really fun. Even when the moves were pretty straightforward, I was constantly kind of looking downstream, trying to figure out where I wanted to go next. And for a while, it felt pretty continuous, like long rapids and maybe a little short flat section between them, and then you go right into another long rapid. It was really cool. I really enjoyed this part of the run a lot. I had a moment of indecision in this rapid right here. There was a rock in front of me, and for some reason I just couldn't make up my mind if I'm going to go left or right of it. I just went straight into it and got pushed off to the right into another rock. After that sequence, it chills out for a bit. There's still rapids, but they're moving a lot slower, and the moves are a lot easier than in the bigger boulder gardens upstream. I did really enjoy that about this run, that even when you weren't in the bigger rapids, there was still stuff going on. Even though the wood didn't really cause us any problems, there were some places where we kind of got pushed into lines that didn't look quite as nice because we weren't quite sure if the better looking channel was clear. Like this spot here, we kind of bumped down the right side a little bit. It turned out from looking upstream that the left line would have been good to go, but it was hard to see coming into it, so we played it safe. This next rapid, there was a horizon line, and I couldn't really see where I wanted to hit it, but then Dave came down and he ran it on the left, so I followed him over there. I'm usually happy to follow Dave's line and steep stuff. He's a lot better than I am at boofing and seeing where to go when it gets steep. There were a lot of easier rapids around here too that I'm skipping over. It felt like it chilled out a little bit around here. I'd say the harder rapids were kind of in the middle of the trip and maybe towards the beginning of the trip, or at least it was more consistent. There were still some really nice rapids towards the end, but it felt a lot more spread out. At least that's how I remember it. This was my first time going down the river. It was a long run. It kind of blurs together to me, but that's how I remember it going. This rapid's called Landslide. It's one of only 2 rapid names I know of on this run, and It's actually not one of the harder rapids on the run at all, really. But there was a big landslide here that was actually caught on video by some kayakers who were paddling the river, and they just happened to be filming when the landslide happened. You can you can still find the video if you look for it. It's pretty cool. So that's the story behind this one. After landslide, there's some more busy water. We had it was 900 CFS for the first part of the trip, but we're coming up on a second dam, and below the second dam we had about 1100 CFS, which was nice. The second dam's called Powerhouse Dam. I eddied out right above it and watched Dave's line through it, but then I just kind of went through no speed, no boof, no problem, which I probably wouldn't grab the eddy again. It's better to just build up a head of steam, I think. After the Powerhouse, there's some more rapids that feel pretty similar to what you've been seeing. And then you get to this spot right here, which kind of blends in with everything else, but it's actually the lead in to Last Nasty, which is probably the hardest rapid on the run. Coming up here, there's 3 kayakers hanging out on the left side of the river. That's probably a good place to wait for spacing reasons if you're with a big group. There's a last chance eddy down on the left that we catch, but there was already a kayaker in there when we got there, and with all 3 of us in there, it was kind of a mess. I actually ended up pushing Dave out the bottom of the eddy, which wasn't very nice of me, but it happened. The crux move is a boof over on the far right. I tried to kind of line up with the rock and launch off it a little bit, but that didn't really work very well. I just skidded on it and plunged in. The people I saw who had a nice looking line were a little bit farther left than I was and just kind of boofed with some right hand angle, and a few kayakers made that look really good. So that's what I would try next time I go down this river. After Last Nasty, there are a couple more pretty easy rapids, and then you kind of start seeing signs of civilization, some nicely groomed lawns on the left and some power lines over the river, and then you'll see the takeout on river left. And that's the Sultan River.